Welcome back to another Jazz basketball breakdown. Just got done against the Spurs. Felt like a long break. I don't know why. This break, a couple games, felt much longer in between games.
I was stoked there was a game today.
Yeah.
It was a kind of one of those false spring, warm Utah days. I'm in shorts. I get here tonight and I'm like, it's freaking cold. Yeah, I was excited there was a game. It seemed like it's been a long break. Finally get to see him get out and play again and watch the youngsters.
Yeah, I love having Hendricks in that starting lineup next to Markkanen, next to Keonte. I've really enjoyed seeing him there. And man, Taylor Hendricks had a very good game defensively.
Thurl Bailey pointed out on the broadcast there that the Jazz have kind of intentionally been avoiding the Kessler-Wembanyama matchup. Even when we played the Spurs earlier this season, there was a little stretch in the third quarter where they matched up for a few minutes. But overall, it was Taylor Hendricks go out there and guard the alien.
Yeah.
That's not an easy task. That's
a
big task, a lot of trust.
And you could see in the first half, Taylor Hendricks seriously affected Wembanyama. The amount of times that Wembanyama, you can tell he's used to, he makes a little bit move and he's so long, he steps and he has an easy shot, and Hendricks recovers, bodies him nicely, rises up with him, and affected a bunch of shots.
Yep. I mean, there are obviously times when Wembanyama's super deep in the paint and he rises up and Hendricks is getting like up to his forearm. That dude's a freak, man. But you're right. So many times that Wembanyama, for example, on Kessler, third quarter, he makes the inside out dribble move, creates tons of space, goes up and dunks it. That's kind of what normally happens. There was one possession it was either first or second quarter where Wembanyama is kind of dribbling up top. He makes a little crossover between the legs, creates a little bit of space, but Hendricks immediately closes, bumps him as he's trying to drive.
Yep.
Makes it so that he can't close towards the rim, has to float away a little bit, contested enough. That's high level defending right there. That possession was incredible.
Yeah, it was. I was concerned when we saw him matched up against Wembanyama. Like, oh, we're really leaving Hendricks out to just die right now.
Yep. And down the stretch, he got caught a couple of times. There's a lot of physicality, and he kind of got caught resting his hands on him after the contact happened, and the ref called it for the last two. And that's fine if he fouls out. I mean, it's not a whole ton to be read into it there, but overall, strong game for Hendricks. Wembanyama is an elite player that's still growing, and he'll do good things. But man, I love the signs seeing Hendricks play tonight. That was
you could see a little bit of that rust, right? A little bit of those jitters that kind of broke off into this game, like that broke off and went away. And you mentioned it during the game. There's a moment he catches it in the corner. Wembanyama closes. He sees Wembanyama stumble a little bit, sidesteps, dribbles, dunks it, and before that, the last few games that he's been in the rotation, he's been kind of catches and jitters a little bit and travels every single time.
It's the travel call. Yep, that was very good to see. And those little steps, those little small movements may not seem like a lot in the big picture, but man, the journey is fun.
It's a confidence thing, right?
Yeah.
And so it's super awesome to see. It makes you excited to see him continuing, the rest of the season. Another growth thing I feel like we're seeing is, Keonte George obviously didn't have his best shooting night, but made a couple elite passes tonight, but also his leadership, his vocal. He's he's that type of leader that as he develops and possibly, hopefully into a star-like player, where he's also going to be a very vocal leader at the same time. And like he works, you can hear him a lot with Hendricks.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are super good moments to see out of him, and Hendricks usually responds really well to it.
They've got a chemistry you can tell. And there were a couple of times too with Keonte where he made the correct read, made an extra little shimmy, the correct timing window, rises up for a little floater, everything perfect. The ball just didn't go down.
Ball just didn't fall.
Just kind of one of those.
So you read the play correctly, right?
The reading of space was high level. The way that he can pass just off of his left hand with no gather is for some reason, considered his offhand, but he can do it. Most of his assists, I think if we charted it, are probably with his left hand.
Seriously.
It's interesting the skill set that emerges as players go along, right? But The leadership part that's coming along, the way that he's kind of broken past the rookie wall, a lot of things that are excellent. And then Sensabaugh, coming in, and you can tell that he's comfortable on the offensive side.
Yes.
Inside, he knows when he looks in the mirror, he tells himself and he smiles and he knows that he's an offensive monster because he is. Hits a nice three, has a nice powerful moment where he rises up and hits a runner going to the hoop.
He bodies the guy kind of by and then just rises up like it's nothing.
Like a pro shrug, man. I mean, the power in that dude is legit. You can tell that there are a few times that he's behind trailing screeners or he gets kind of a late start as somebody takes off, but he's still working his butt off behind, trying to catch up and make a play and switch off on another player. So
that's the important thing, right? I don't need you to come out and be an elite defender. I don't need you to come out and be that. I just need you to show me that you're working. I need you to work on both sides of the court. And so where there were so many concerns with him on the defense side of the court to where he has come out and for the most part really hasn't been a big defensive liability for us because at the very least he's working his ass off and trying to get through screens and make sure he's in the right position to where, it's not as noticeable, maybe some of his defensive weaknesses because of that.
Right. And so we kind of make the comparison of, okay, so how far off of a player like Jordan Clarkson is he?
Yeah.
Right. Because he's miles and miles behind Chris Dunn defensively, right? We're not ever going to say that.
Of course.
But how far off of Jordan Clarkson is he defensively?
I mean, and that's the thing. You're talking effort wise and things like that. I'm just saying, like, as an overall, you can be a good defender but show zero effort and stuff like that. And because of that, I feel less of a liability defensively when Sensabaugh's on a guy than I do when Clarkson's on a guy. 90% of that comes down to the fact that Clarkson just doesn't try on defense. Like realistically, I was kind of talking to you. I think his biggest freaking drawback as a defensive player is he doesn't know he's not a good defender, and so he almost roams.
He does roam. That's what drives me crazy.
And thinks that he's the savior on defense in moments as someone drives and stuff like that, and he just ends up being out of position.
Right. He doesn't hedge in a reasonable manner that trusts his teammate or allows him to even recover.
Yeah. It's like if you would just accept that you're not a good defender, it would actually help you because then you're not going to take as many risks on defense and you're going to actually work on trying to be in the right position.
The hardest part about Clarkson's risks that he takes on defense is they're not consistent. Mm-hmm. So as another teammate, you can't consistently guess where he's going to be and make your movement based off of that.
Sure.
So it screws everybody else down the line. It makes it tougher for teammates to be able to play team defense with it.
But that's what's exciting about Bryce Sensabaugh, going back to Sensabaugh, is, we're talking about a guy who we're hoping we can develop into a 6-man Clarkson-like role, right? And you look at those moments and it's like he's got so many tools offensively and everyone questioned his health and his defense. Those are the two big questions. Right. We're late into the season where he's played a lot of G League games, obviously not as many games as like Keonte has in the NBA season, but still played a lot of G League games and now is coming into playing rotation still and hasn't, we haven't had any sort of like conditioning or anything hit him yet. So that's been good to see. And then defensively, he's come out and it's been like, if you hadn't told me, if there hadn't been the word out of the big question with Sensabaugh is his defense, right? The coaches are concerned of him defensively in the G League and stuff like that. And I just watched the games he's come in and played since the trade deadline. I wouldn't think, his big hit mark, his big struggles are his ability to play defense. It's just like, okay, he looks like a normal rookie on defense.
And we heard on draft night that the Jazz scouting staff felt comfortable that he could play a decent amount of defense, right?
Yeah.
That what his tape showed. Now, as he got into his 1 year at Ohio State, he had a meniscus surgery before that season started and right after.
Yes.
So there were obviously issues with his knee that, and if you've been through that, I mean, I've had meniscus surgery and tried to play before and after.
Same.
And it takes away your confidence to really cut hard and plant and really work it. And I mean, even remember Sexton came to us last year after he had meniscus surgery, at least the end of the season prior, right? And so he wasn't fully healthy last year until he felt this offseason. So there's a lot you could possibly read into that of how much is that injury really factoring into the amount of minutes and the amount of effort that he could put in on the defensive side. And if you watched some of Sensabaugh's highlights early in the season last year versus the end, he was playing a ton more minutes, was much more confident, much better player. So you wonder how much of that health went into that, right?
Yeah.
So, but we're getting a lot of looks here. I'm loving his effort. He doesn't look like he's hampered out there. And he's another player that if we can get him healthy into the offseason and allow, kind of that knee and stuff to heal and then come in strong and
he could have
maybe even a little bit more in shape, could come in as a monster next year.
Yeah. He could step into a role that needs to be filled coming into next year as a 6-man like role that we could be looking to him to fill. And so it's super exciting to see kind of what he's been able to do so far in the little bit of minutes we've seen.
He would be one of the players that I would be super stoked to see coming into Summer League,
yes,
along with our draft picks from this off, right? This draft that's coming up. So him and Taylor Hendricks, whose body looks like is changing by the week, and Keonte, if
they even play
him in the Summer League, because he might go out and destroy people. He may come in and do the
Jalen
Williams play 2 quarters and be out,
Yeah.
But man, Summer League could be a blast this summer. I mean, it was fun last year, but we had some injuries, but Summer League this year could be
super fun.
Really fun.
Yeah, no, I agree. And so it's the kind of growth we were hoping to start seeing as the rest of the season progressed when we fully committed to playing Hendricks and Sensabaugh and stuff like that. And so I'm loving seeing that out of this team right now. It's definitely seeing more of a brighter future of what could be with these players, and that's important. And there's a lot of talk, from some fans of like, well, why would you spend time on what could be in the future to what could be now kind of thing? And it's like, well, we're not the Lakers, right? We're not going to get a big time signing here. We're not going to get we could make a trade, but they'll leave in a year kind of thing. And so it's really a huge part of if we can go win and build a championship team is, one, we got lucky with Markkanen, who loves Utah. And two, we really need development out of young players like Keonte George and Taylor Hendricks and stuff like that. And that has to happen.
And if we have hit on all 3 draft picks this year, you guys, you don't understand how odd that is. That's
never happens.
That's insane. And I mean, by hit, I mean having all 3 be at least really good role players, have one possibly be, all-star level maybe. And I mean, that's an insanely successful draft.
Yes.
Insanely successful. The only thing that could possibly be better than that is kind of what OKC did last year when they got Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren basically in the same draft.
Right.
That's 2 really kind of all-star level.
Yeah.
That's insane. But if we've hit on all 3 of those,
and to do that with the 9th, 16th, and 28th pick, right?
That's tough.
Right? You're not doing it with the top 2 pick. You're doing it with a end of the lottery pick and then 2 out of the lottery picks.
Yep. And I had my mixed feelings in watching, and I watched a ton of college ball last year, and because I enjoy it. I loved Taylor Hendricks, that pick coming in. I didn't expect him to be like a Jalen Williams type. I expect him to be a role player, a 3-and-D. So he's kind of hit right where I thought. Keonte George was an exciting prospect offensively. I didn't see the point guard side at all.
Right.
At all. And there were a lot of signs of really giving up on the season at Baylor. That was kind of tough to watch as their season got down towards the end. And I thought Sensabaugh was too high of a risk to even try on him.
Yeah, you hated the Sensabaugh pick.
I hated the Sensabaugh pick. I thought it was ridiculous. I knew that he had an NBA jumper and was offensively successful, but I still thought that it was
too much of
a risk, even at 28. So there were other players that I thought were in there. I'm not saying I'm not cheering them on and wanting them to work from day one, but that was kind of my assessment. And we'll do the same thing this year and kind of put our word out there.
We'll be able to talk about it more.
Talk about it beforehand and what we think and what fits. But if we ended up hitting on at least 3 role players in that draft last year, that's an A+.
Well, and that's the thing is there's moments, right, when you're watching even like the game like tonight, where when you're getting heavier minutes and stuff out of Keonte, Hendricks, and Sensabaugh, where it's just like, man, this isn't like we're just forcing getting the rookies on the court and forcing, we have to play our young players and develop. No, all three of them deserve to be on the court. All three of them deserve to be in the roles they're playing and are earning those minutes. It's not like, hey, you have to play Sensabaugh over Taylor Horton Tucker, doesn't matter kind of thing, right? It's not. It's the second you put on Sensabaugh on the court, and even from last game to this game, showing his comfort as he's gotten more comfortable. It's like, man, I wonder what they're seeing in practice, because it's clear that Sensabaugh deserves to be getting role player minutes on an NBA team right now. It's clear Hendricks is an elite defender right now, and it's clear that there is shining moments of Keonte George of like, man, this guy could be a star.
In the reports that are coming out about how much of a gym rat Keonte George is and how much he loves basketball, which is rare. I mean, you see it on podcasts now about players saying that 80% of the league don't even like basketball that much. It's a job, and it's gotten old, and they've been drugged through the business side of it, and it's tough. There's no question. But the fact that he loves basketball so much, and even Will Hardy will make comments sometimes saying, I know that Keonte loves basketball, so he'll figure it out. I'm not worried. He'll put in the time, and he just loves doing it. And that's a rare thing, and it's something that will guarantee the work.
Yeah.
That he'll love it enough that he'll put in and he'll grind.
Yeah, no, for sure. Last kind of good thing that was out of this game was Lauri Markkanen seemed to get out of that slump he was in. He was in a pretty bad slump since basically the trade deadline. Just wasn't even making his normal kind of mid-range shots that he takes, right. And man, he looked so good tonight.
Looked very efficient down the stretch. All of a sudden, he's like, okay, let's stop messing around. And
he subs in, gets a steal, an assist, and a block, and then a deep three, just bang, bang, yeah. Bang, bang.
And San Antonio had pulled to within single digits, and he and John Collins made a handful of big plays, and all of a sudden it was back to 20 just like that. So understand it's the Spurs. It's a lower level team, but still these are the signs and things we want to see come back. I still think we drop down below in,
for sure,
and keep our draft picks from this year. That would be my guess, unless something extremely strange happens.
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree. It was good to see that. It drives me nuts that we went the entire third quarter of him getting one shot. And that really is the problem with these lineups that we're still running and kind of forced to run right now. But I mean, we closed them and stuff like that. It's wild that you can look at, Sexton and Clarkson. It's like, oh, they both got 10 assists. And you're just like, holy shit, it just was not really moving the ball, and there's times, and I think that's why I get so frustrated with both of them. There's times when it's just like they play and they make such good plays, both scoring and passing. And it's just like bang, bang, bang. And it's just like, damn, that was a good play. Damn, that was a good play, on both sides. And then there's times where it's just like, I'm going to do nothing but put my head down and the shot's going to go up. Doesn't matter what's going to happen beyond that. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to shoot it. And we have sections of that, and you're just like, holy hell, man. And we go an entire quarter of Lauri Markkanen not touching the ball. Legitimately not touching the ball. Not just not getting shots, not even touching.
Even when the other team doubles the ball handler on a pick and roll that Lauri is rolling for an open three-pointer.
Yes.
It's just the head is down, and we're pounding it straight towards the bucket. Colin Sexton put a lot of pressure on the rim this game. Drew some fouls and stuff like that. But, man, were there sections of the game where the ball just stopped and it was just in his hands the entire time. And it takes the rest of the team out of the game. We've talked about it ad nauseum. So,
yeah. And so, but, yeah, I was just – a lot of good things that came out of this game that was really awesome to see. Makes me excited for the future, for the rest of the season. I'm having more fun watching these games than I was before the trade deadline. And so there seems to be there's a much clearer direction. We consistently talked about, the trade deadline, we should have a much clearer idea of what the front office is wanting to do, and it's very obvious that the direction was finally you need to commit
Youth,
to the young players, and been really good things out of it so far.
I've been happy with that part for sure.
Yeah,
that's clear. There's talk that they were closing in on a trade that would have brought in a little bit more of a veteran piece to help us advance that side as well. That would have been nice to see along with it, and I think that there's those possibilities still out there.
And that's the thing is, there's talks with that trade is going to be trade talks will probably be picked back up in this off season.
Yeah.
And
there are a couple of players out there that I would like to see us. And if you look at teams, you can kind of see teams that have a strong role player in there with youth behind them that need more minutes, and they're kind of running out of minutes with other stars emerging. And so that's a piece that they can move that would fit great with us. And I think there are a couple players out there that really fit that type. If you kind of read between the lines of what's been said, and that's both of them would be exciting pieces to add to us, because the youth moving forward is happening.
Yes,
we just need to add a few more veteran pieces, and then sit back and watch. That'll be fun.
Yeah, and just allow these young players to kind of figure out who they are, and allow the team and the coaches to figure out where the best positions is for them. And so, yeah, the rest of the season is going to be super exciting, and hearing that stuff about the trade talks and stuff even makes it exciting of what could happen going into this off season. So, really could be an exciting next 6 months for the Jazz, and it's been an exciting 6 months, year and a half, I guess year and a half behind us. And so really ever since Danny Ainge came in and Justin Zanuck and him took over and started really looking at stuff. And so I think there's going to be a lot of good stuff going forward with this team, and I'm excited for Tuesday. I'm excited to see
back in Atlanta.
I'm excited to see these young players, and I'm excited to see what John Collins does in Atlanta. I mean, that's a game circled on the calendar, and a game he wants to come out and perform.
That's what he said in the post-game interview, right? I'm going to be ready.
Yep, 100%. So we'll see you guys Tuesday.